So today, here's the outsider's guide to choosing a job that isn't full of any lovies. Rita, the three of us went wrong. We're in the media. The media is completely full of lovies. How did we get that so wrong? How do you go about, Rita, finding a job that isn't full of lovies?
Well, the first thing is to stay away from industries like the arts,
yes,
media, academia, anything really that's in the public eye, whether you're talking about the movie industry or the news media or visual arts, anything really, that is just populated by the left. And even in organisations that the loony left say, oh, they're so right-wing, you know, the News Corp businesses are so right-wing. James will tell you, James and I both work in editorial on the editorial side of the business. The majority of our journalists would lean left as well, wouldn't they, James? That's just the nature of the industry, where people tend to lean a certain way politically, and I think it does reflect on what we see. So I think it's just something you've got to be conscious of, particularly if you're a news reporter. If you're an opinion person, then giving your opinion is part of the job. But if you're supposed to be an impartial news reporter, then your own ideology and worldview has to be stripped away from your work.
James?
Well, I reckon that there's two sort of metrics you can talk about this on. I think one of the things is that for whatever reason, people who work with words tend to be more woke. I don't know if it's a left brain, right brain thing, so I think that goes to what Rita was saying about journalists. But, you know, I got to say, I work in the media, I work with you two beautiful people, and there's no wokeness here. But that said, too, you look at other professions, the sort of the higher-end professions like law. Law is absolutely full of people who are on the left, who are very woke, whereas you look at things that work with, you know, numbers and mathematics. So things like engineers, you know, when I was at university, the engineers were always the most conservative students on campus. But then the other thing that I've noticed is that between, you know, jobs that actually produce something and jobs that don't, you know, there's a very identifiable left-right divide. So, you know, people in trades who actually do useful things are going to probably have a more conservative outlook towards where their tax dollars go and their money goes and things like that than somebody who is, say, a diversity coordinator for a university who produces absolutely nothing. Or one of the many legion HR people who sit atop our corporations that, you know, decide what you can and can't say and what you can and can't do, and often exist just to get in the way of whatever the core business is.
Well, you put your finger here on a fundamental point, James, and that is this topic is choosing a job that isn't full of lovies. And, you know, if we define lovies, I guess we broadly mean the woke mob, the lefties, those many who don't call themselves of the left but wear their heart on their sleeve, are passionate about climate change and so on. And you put your finger on the pulse of it, which is this divide between jobs where your output is measurable and jobs where your morality is measurable, or your virtue. And what you've pinned there, James, is those jobs which are highly involved with creating a product, getting that product to market, you know, making sure your workforce is delivering the right product to market. Those sorts of jobs, there really is only room in your head for getting the job done and getting the results you want. In other jobs, mainly in the public sector, but not exclusively, all sorts of corporations now have these same jobs, where it's all about your feelings and about how you work in the workplace, how you treat other people. HR is one you mentioned, but there's plenty of others. Kind of management jobs, team building, all this sort of stuff are very, very touchy-feely, and they rely on you being able to show a set of morals, a moral code, and of course the left own that moral code, because if you wander into an HR department and say, I'm going to run the I'm going to run the department on Christian grounds, or whatever grounds it might be, you'll be straight out the door. You want to come in and say, I'm going to run this on gender and diversity grounds, etc., etc., you're laughing. That's all you have to do.